Good morning, everybody around the world. Check it out. We're going to talk about two things right now, right? Number one, Justin Gaethje vacates and retires the 155 strap. Or is that so? We're going to find out the truth behind that, the rumors. Is it true? I think I have a little bit of some scope on that. Stay tuned for these conversations. The second conversation we're going to have, Bruce Lee, could he compete in the UFC? Well, the answer is yes. I'm going to get straight right into the point on this one. He can absolutely compete in the UFC. A lot of you believe that competing in the UFC, you have to have these weird attributes or out of this world capabilities. That couldn't be further from the truth. Here's the reality of it, right? When you're talking about athletics and attributes, right? Sports is confined in rules, and athletic people do well when it comes to rules. So the more rules you have in a competition, in a fight, in warfare, the more that it favors the unpredictable result or the unpredictable participant in that matter. Okay? Why? Understand this, right? Fighting is a very unpredictable sport. There is no right way or wrong way of doing MMA. It's a chaotic sport. One will argue it's barely even a sport, to be quite honest with you. And there's a certain part of me that agrees with that notion. It is barely a sport because it is warfare. And in warfare, anything can absolutely happen. So, this idea that, oh, there's no way Bruce Lee could have competed in the UFC. Well, think about this, right? Look at all the other martial artists that they knew back in the days, right? Victory says, what? Justin vacated? We're gonna get to that, okay? Because right now, I'm gonna be very honest with you. It's not out there right now, okay? It's not out there right now. But everything that I'm gonna speculate, you're gonna understand exactly why I am saying that. Okay, and also maybe why this is not out yet. But I need you to understand this, right? If Justin Gaethje has not officially vacated yet, it is only because he is trying to garner as much sponsorships as he can right after the White House fight. That is their only reason why. If all else proves that he's going to retire, it is because you cannot get any bigger than the White House. It doesn't get any bigger than that, Marty. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Uh, Imagine you come back and you fight Charles Oliveira. Let's say you were to fight Charles Oliveira in LA, right? The UFC 331 card. Let's say you were to fight him there. How is that going to work out for you? How will that work out? I mean, you got a great chance of winning. Where this is not the same Charles Oliveira as it once was. The grappling side of things, I'm sure, will be a much harder fight. Um, Victory says, yeah, but he'll make the most money of his career next fight. Um, we don't know that. Well, I know someone who does know that, but um, put it like this, right? You know how the UFC contracts are. Yes, you get bonuses. Maybe a few times they'll slip in $1 million check, kind of like what they did with Cormier, right in the John Jones fight. They slipped him $1 million just out of nowhere, right? But that was out of courtesy, and that was a gift, or that was just a gesture of token of appreciation from the Fertitta brothers. Victory says, I say no way he vacates without fighting again. Um, well, that's great. I'm glad that you disagree with that, right? So now at least we have a debate, at least a debate within, not just with me and you, but obviously the wider MMA community. He says, I'm in my car staring at you, Emmett says. Okay, that sounds like a very creepy thing to say, but of course, what do you expect from a man named Emmett who doesn't have a profile pic, probably doesn't have $5,000 in his bank account, Probably has his check engine lights on, lit up like a Christmas tree. By the way, let's check out my. Does it look like I got any check engine lights on? Nope, nope, no check engine lights. How about that? Let's see your car, right? Do you have any check engine lights on your car? Do you have leather seats in your car? Do you have a sunroof? How are you living? And of course, you're going to say something as creepy as that because I don't know. You know what it is, man? You're probably, look, I don't mean to make this racial in any kind of way. I'll bet you're white. He says, I was just kidding, little bro. No problem, man. But I still stand by that. I'll bet you're white. Okay, because no black guy, unless of course they are really threatening me, or is going to say to me, "Hey, I'm in my car staring at you," right? And it says no black guy ever. Says only a white guy who is a weirdo from the suburbs. He says, "I have a truck that has internet, has a 14 screen and leather seats." Yeah, so does everybody in the internet that's a baller. Everybody, like, especially guys, man, there is no richer guy in the world than a guy that doesn't have a profile pic. Let me tell you, there is no richer guy than that. A guy who has no profile whatsoever, right? I remember one time I pulled up to this panel. I believe his name was No Chill MMA, right? I think he rebranded himself now. I think he's called MMA Journal or MMA Journalist or something like that. But anyways, I pulled up to his stream or whatever, right? So, like what I do with most streams, whether it's mine or whether it's me collaborating with others, I'm always driving around. I'm always on the road. I'm always, out and about, right? If I'm not in the studio. So I'm driving around this part of Sacramento that is known to harbor prostitutes. Um, this one guy starts getting smart with me. Okay, he starts getting smart with me, saying, "Oh, why are you over there?" I'm like, "Because I'm passing by it, and this is a place that's known for prostitution." Like, basically insinuating that I'm there, to, like, trick off or whatever. To, one of these white guys that likes to, catch you at a "aha, I got you" moment, like one of them, right? And just, the internal savage in you, just can't help yourself but just blur things out, say absurd things, say racist things and think that it's funny, right? This is just your nature. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of it. But like I said, we get into it, and one thing led to another, and then it gets into, well, I have more of this and that, and then he says, well, I have two apartments. His name was Dylan, by the way, some ginger, redheaded, mother effer from Washington, D.C., I believe. He says, well, I have two apartments. No, bitch, you're renting one apartment, and the other one is probably your girlfriend's, and that's about it. So there it is, right? So yeah, everybody on the internet, Emmett, is rich. Everybody is balling. Everybody has two apartments. Meanwhile, you guys really seen how I live in this, okay? Um, my lifestyle is not made up, unlike some of you, and who have nothing to show for it. So that's really the way that it is, man. So going back to the Bruce Lee conversation, right? I really wanted to have this conversation because I knew that Bruce Lee is a hot topic of the debate in MMA. All right, and I also know that Bruce Lee is talked about right now. I heard him being talked about by Song Yadong in the media day for UFC China, right? And he mentions how Bruce Lee inspired him. He felt like, his story is very similar to Bruce Lee. Actually, he said he didn't really know a lot about Bruce Lee when he was in China, right? And I started thinking, why is that? Why is it that not a lot of people knew who Bruce Lee is in China, or why is it that they don't learn about him? Then, when you go into the biography of Bruce Lee, you notice that in one of his movies, his biop movies, he got into it with the elder Chinese people of the community because he was teaching non-Chinese, the whites, the blacks, the Americans, the Hispanics. Bruce Lee told those Chinese guys, F off, I teach who I want, I'm an American. And I just thought, wow, you know what? That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful to hear because, sometimes for somebody who sometimes questions his government, i.e., the United States government, the Trump regime, for someone who criticizes, um, the U.S. foreign policies, sometimes it is good to hear that, right? That is the reality in the fabric of America is that we are all one, no matter what we believe in, no matter what our culture is, what our skin color is. That's the beauty of America, right? And Bruce Lee was the quintessential Asian American. Okay, and you know what? It doesn't get any more American than Bruce Lee. He fought for America. He fought for non-Asians and non-Chinese people to learn martial arts, and here we are today, with the most advanced time in unarmed combat in mixed martial arts, right? So the question goes, could he compete today? My answer is, I don't think that. I think that he can compete. Okay, that's not the question. Anybody can compete in MMA. I need you guys to understand something, right? Anybody can do MMA. I promise you. You just got to put the time and effort into it because it is a sport of chaos. And when you have a sport of chaos, you are inviting various results to come about. The more rules that you put into a sport, a competition, the more that it favors the more athletic of the two. For example, in basketball, you obviously can't shove people, but guess what? If you jump really high, you're going to get some points in there. Just like in football, you can't punch people, but if you run hard enough and if you tackle hard enough, you can absolutely damage other people. Okay, or win in a capacity where you have more points more than the other. AR says, hi, Kyrie in chat. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, loved ones? And how is your family? Kyrie is knowledgeable, educated, and knows everything. Kyrie is respectful, diverse. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, my man. Aaron Maga says, Nurmagomedov taps on your dog. I think he's going to have a little bit of a harder fight, but we'll see. Okay, I do pick Nurmagomedov to win that one for sure. Emmett says, AR, he called me white and he said that he has better truck than me. Don't listen to him. I mean, you know what? In all honesty, Emmett, nobody really knows whether you have a truck or not. You're just a guy on the internet, right? Like I could literally ban you right now, which I'm not, right? Because I think you're by the very least keeping it respectful. So I'm going to keep you around, right? Um, but I could literally ban you and banish you right now, and nobody would even know that you have a better truck than me. Like, who cares? Like, really? Like, who argues about stuff like that? Oh, I have a better truck than you. I really don't care, my man. I really don't care. My whole entire life is paid off. I got retirement that I don't have to worry about. You got to worry about retirement. I don't know what your situation is, but like I said, right, when I'm saying you, I'm saying the proverbial you, the reality of what I know many Americans to be facing, right? Which is that you probably don't have $5,000 in your bank account. You probably have your check engine lights on, lit up like a Christmas tree. And then on top of that, you're probably broke. You have no health insurance. You probably got underlying health issues that you don't know about and can't do anything about because you're too poor for health insurance. And that's the reality of many Americans today. Okay, that is the absolute reality of many Americans today. And Emmett, you could be the complete opposite of those things. You could possibly be telling me the truth that you have a better truck than me, but the reality is nobody knows. And quite frankly, nobody cares. AR says, but while we're in that subject, what kind of truck do you have, by the way? Just out of the curiosity of of guys talking cars, if you don't mind. AR says, boxing, one skill set. AR says, Emmett, to be, what are you talking about? Oh, okay. Just a little context. Obviously, he told me earlier in the chat that he has like a car with a 14-inch screen or something like that, and yada yada. But yeah, one of them things, one of them type of conversations. But on any regard, let's see here. So okay, let's talk about Justin Gaethje, right, and the potentiality of him vacating his belt. Okay, because There is a huge potential for that happening. Make no mistake about it. All right, a huge potential for that to happen, and I'm going to tell you why. Look, this game is a game of depletion. I need you guys to understand that, right? What exactly do I mean by that when I say depletion? This is not a game to where you're going to gain anything over the years. The only thing that you'll gain is experience, and not only experience, you will also gain skills along the way. And then when you gain skills, then it becomes a very limited time frame to you holding on to those skills. Okay. Nico says, natty or not? Um, natty or not? I am natty. Yeah, I don't have any. I don't take any, supplements or anything like that. So yeah, I guess I can say natty on mine. So um, or are you talking about just engaging? He says, I don't care about your ethnic background or what truck you have. It's not my business. AR says, well said, AR. That's exactly my sentiment towards him in that regard. Because, like I said, man, this is what a lot of people do. Okay. And here's the funny thing about this, right? This is why a lot of you rappers get snitched on. Obviously, you guys know about the Little Dirt and the OTF case that's going on right now with Little Dirk and all of that, right? A lot of these rappers get snitched on. I'm going to tell you why. Look, notice how when two rappers argue with each other, right? One of the things that they do to disrespect the other rappers, okay, is to say the following: "You're broke." But here's the thing about this, right? Here's the weird thing about that type of conversation. When you call somebody broke, do you realize that you're also calling other people broke that you may not know about? A lot of people don't notice that, right? Like you're calling this guy broke, but you got homies that are broke. So you don't think that your homie is going to feel some kind of way like, oh, damn, he called this dude broke, but this dude is a millionaire. He's calling a millionaire broke. So what does that make me? So you got to think to yourself, man, you got to watch what you say to people. Okay, you got to watch what you say to people because you don't know who you're insulting, and quite frankly, you also don't know what type of situation a person has going on. Nonetheless, AR says Moses versus Herkovich. Yes, so that is going on this weekend, man. Moses versus Herkovich. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna cover that one later on. Um, I think Moses wins this one in any facet. Okay, let me explain why, right? Moses has been training with professionals since he was a teenager. When he was in the amateurs, he has a very extensive amateur background, which, by the way, helps out a lot. It helps out dearly. Um, Not only does he have that amateur experience, he also has um, he's also been knocking a lot of really good people out. Okay, like for example, Jermaine Franklin. Nobody put out Jermaine Franklin, not even Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua had to go 12 rounds with Jermaine Franklin. He laid him out in literally a round, in less than a round. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the performance he had against Jermaine Franklin. I tell you what, this Herkovich fight is a test, right? It's a real test. But what I will say with this test that he has going on, that he's going to pass it. The question is, how will he pass it? How is he going to pass it? Through flying colors? I could absolutely see a world that could happen. I could see a world where he also wins by decision. Okay, because this is a very difficult fight. You need to understand, right? This is a very, very difficult fight. A very difficult fight. Herkovich is high level, but he's also not invincible towards yeah, he's not invincible in any kind of way. Not invincible by a long shot. I think there's a good chance. There's a good chance that he lays him out. Alex says donated $10. Okay, I did not see that. You might have to do that again, my man. I'm sorry, I did not see your super chat. And if you did attempt, thank you. But unfortunately, I did not see it. But thank you for the sentiments anyway, I suppose. Yeah. Um, all right, so going back to the Justin Gaethje conversation, right? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know if he is going to vacate or not, but all signs point to that direction. Number one, he's trying to garner as much sponsorships as he can out of his White House win. Because remember, fighting at the White House is a once in a lifetime experience only, right? It is a once in a lifetime experience to where these types of things will never happen again. They will never happen again. They will never, ever happen again in a long time, right? So it's a very unique event. It's a very unique spectacle. On top of that, within that spectacle, you manage to pull off something that is just remarkable. Okay, beating an undefeated guy, a guy that everybody thought was invincible, and then you took his undefeated record at the White House, and then you got greeted by Trump afterwards, and then a couple of weeks later he comes back to the White House, visits the White House to celebrate. Justin, my boy, it doesn't get any bigger than this. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Retire, go out on top, because this is the best way to go out on top. Talking about eyes on the road. How about you mind your own business? It's amazing how many people out there love to tell you what to do with your life, right? Like they know better than you. I mean, look, I don't mean to slag you off or anything like that. It's just, I think I think you're a bit of a bitter idiot. If I can just be really frank and honest with you, you're a bitter idiot. You want to know why? Think of it like this, right? You're the audience. Granted, this is also a chat. You're allowed to say what you want to say, but you waste your time literally typing eyes on the road when it has nothing to do with you, number one. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Number two, you're the audience. Suppose something bad happens to me while I'm doing this. Guess what? Isn't that what you want? You're getting like live entertainment right in front of you. Here's the thing, right? I hate to make this racial, all right? Shout outs to my white boys. And shout out, he says, I can't hear you. Your mic is. See here. I don't know. My mic seems fine. I don't know what you are complaining about. Anyways, yeah. I'm just gonna get rid of you. How about this, right? How about I send you to the Shadow Realm? Boom. There you go. You got sent to the Shadow Realm, bro. I'm sorry. You're an annoying little pest. You're not trying to contribute anything. You're just trying to look. Shout out to my white boys. I'm not trying to make this into a racial thing, right? But some white people, okay, they have this thing where they have to like just constantly watch over you, right? If you, let's say, are a minority and you move into a white neighborhood, which most of the time, if you're going to be in an affluent neighborhood in the United States, that's just what it's going to be. You're just going to live around white people because the majority of whites are the ones that have money, right? But if you move in that neighborhood, right, if you're a minority, depending on, what shade you are or how ghetto you act or this and that, they will keep an eye on you. I promise you that. Okay. They will keep an eye on you because it is just what they do. Okay. It is just a mentality. It's a colonizer's mentality, right? Like, oh, what are they up to? What are they doing? That's just what a lot of you are. Okay. A lot of you have a colonizer's mentality, because let's be honest about this, many of you have had your family members, or at least your ancestors, commit genocides. Not that that had anything to do with you, right? But it also kind of shows you that you don't have the heart and the will that your ancestors have. So, a lot of you just, live off of your racial pride, off of something that you contributed nothing to. You know what I mean? So that's a harsh black pill reality for y'all right there. So, there's that, right? Talking about, oh, he's on the road, bucko. I'm like, who uses the term bucko first and foremost, right? Who uses that term? Bucko. Yeah, bucko. Tell him, bucko. Man, you're a fool, bro. You's a fool, bro. You's a fool, bro. You's a fool. But yeah, that's what it is. So, um, let me make sure that my mic is on and okay here. How's my mic now, guys? Let me know if the mic is okay. AR, if you're there, let me know if my mic is okay right now. Maybe that gentleman, is not bullshitting after all. But I don't know. I don't have a playback in front of me right now, so I'm not going to know. So yeah, you guys are just gonna have to let me know if my mic is on. Of course, that is if you are speaking out of good faith, right? If you're speaking out of out of just malicious intent, get the hell out of here. I don't need you. You need to go fix your lives, okay? Here's another thing too, right? If you're broke and you got nothing going on, maybe you should not be watching streams. You see, the other people are gonna tell you, hey, you know what? You're broke. You got nothing going on. Great, more views for me because more views for me because I'm inviting a bunch of people that have nothing going on. I'm just being very honest with you guys, right? Like if I was broke and I had nothing going on, the last thing I would be doing is going on streams, right? Maybe doing streams, right, to try and help you generate some money, sure, but the aspect of actually, yeah, that would not be good. Okay, guys, if you can just excuse me and hold on for just a second, okay? Hold on just a second. All right. All right, we're back. We're back, y'all. Okay, so check this out, right? Um, all right, back to our conversation about Justin Gaethje, right? Okay, so what would happen if Justin Gaethje decides that he's going to uh not vacate? What if he decides, you know what, I'm going to pull through and fight again, right? Let's talk about the possibilities of whether he wins or whether he loses, right? If he wins his next fight, I'm going to tell you right now, it would literally mean almost nothing. This is the dilemma that he's got going on right now, right? It would literally mean absolutely almost nothing. I promise you. Okay? Um, the reason why it would mean absolutely nothing is because you can't get any bigger than the White House. Okay? You can't get any bigger than the White House. How are you going to get anything bigger than the White House? This one idiot right here on the comment section says, get a job. First of all, how do you even know whether I have a job or not? Like, obviously, I have a car that I drive. I live in a house that's probably better than yours. I'm sorry that you hate your life, that whatever job that you have doesn't pay enough to make you happy. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're the one who's living your life wrong. Guys, if you are working every day to the point where you can't do what you want to do, then I don't know what to tell you, man. You are living a depressed life. You have to force yourself to be disciplined, to wake up in the morning, to go do a job that you hate, and then pretend that it's all discipline when in reality you don't have a choice. You don't know about my life investments that I've made. You don't know about the careers that I've had. You don't know about what I have going on right now, of what kind of job that I have going on right now or what I'm doing. And yet you have the nerve to come on to the live stream and talk about get a job when in reality you hate your life. So you see somebody that's, I don't know, living their life the way that they want to, up in here, driving around my city that I want to be in a car that I want to be in, right? Riding around, talking to everybody around the world. And then here you are, you say disparaging things because you want to feel better about yourself, when in reality, you're an anonymous person. Nobody knows who you are. Uh, you wouldn't dare say some of the things that you say to me in person because, let's be honest about it, nobody really does. But me, on the other hand, I'm different. You've seen me. You've seen me in these live streams. When I get in front of people, bro, I'm really live and turned up. The way that I am, the way that I am in these streams is the way that I am in front of these people when there is a conflict going on or if there's a dispute or anything. You've seen it. You've seen it. I don't mind confrontations. I get into confrontation. A lot of you don't like it. This is the reason why a lot of you don't like it, is because, look, a lot of you don't like to take risks. Okay, this is why a lot of you are where you are in life, because you don't like to take risks. Oh, how about we go on YouTube and and do YouTube content? Your negative mind goes, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to start making money the first year. You start getting into investments. Somebody tries to tell you, hey, get into investments. Try and do this. Try and do that. Right? No, I don't want to do it. I don't know if this is going to make me money. It's a gamble. Well, that's what it is. Scared money don't make money, right? So yeah, it's no wonder an idiot like this dude right here. What is his name? Adrian Hari. Nobody even knows who you are, anyways, man. Isn't it amazing? Look, do you notice anytime, anytime there is like a well-known YouTuber in here, right? Do they ever say disparaging things about me other than if, let's say, I was to beef with them? But really, I've never really beefed with any prominent YouTubers, other than this one, guy in Sacramento, but he wasn't really a big YouTuber. In fact, at this point, I have more subscribers than him. But um, yeah, man, nobody that comes in here that's successful talks bad about me. You ever notice that? Jesse on Fire, does he talk bad about me? No, because he's doing better than me. Dubs, Gunners Collective, they all have better and bigger channels than me. So they don't come in here talking smack. It is the people who got no motion, got nothing going on, that want to come in here and talk smack. Because, look, guys, I hate to break it to you. A lot of you hate your lives. Did I not just explain to you why many of you hate your lives? You don't have $5,000 in your bank account. Many of you have cars that are lit up like a Christmas tree. Look at this. Look at the majority of the road of the cars that are out right now. I guarantee you, a lot of these people that have these cars right here, they probably have car problems. That actor right there, they got car problems. Okay, that Honda Civic in front of me right there, that got problems. This security car right here in front of me, they got problems. All these cars, they all got problems, right? Every single one of them, just like all of you guys, you all have problems with your cars, with your bank account. And then what do? In the process of that, you go online anonymously, no profile pic, not even attempting to make anything out of your channel other than just to get on there so you could talk smack. And then this is what you get. This is what you get in life. You take no risk because all you do is talk bad about other people that take risks. And you know what? Granted, it's one thing if you talk about them while you have a YouTube channel. At least you're doing something that is productive. Okay, you're doing something productive. However, you're not really doing anything productive if you're just, water cooler conversations with your buddies at work. Cheeseburger says, "What up, bro? Much love. Don't let the people get to you. Stay positive." Of course, man. Of course. But it's great content to talk about nonetheless. Cheeseburger says, "What up, bro? Much love. Don't let the people get to you. Stay positive. Always, always try to stay in the in a positive side of things. Of course, man. Of course, that is the ultimate goal every time is to stay on that track." So Tanky says, "What do you think about your Chechen boy Kamsat can beat Polo at 205?" Um, at 205, huh? Yeah, I figured, that would be an interesting matchup, right? I know that Sean and Kamzat are slated to face each other. Okay, at least that is what is according to many of the big brass in the UFC offices, right? They like that matchup more than anything else because they made good money off of it last time. It was very close. They could make more money off of it again, just based on the fact that, it was a very lucrative fight. It was a very lucrative fight. But like, make no mistake about it. Everybody was down to watch that fight. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Um, if they don't have that fight going on, if they can't get that fight going, then I think they should go into Kamzat and Paulo Costa, right? Paulo Costa is pretty upset that Kamzat got at his girl, right? So there's a storyline behind that. They've been talking smack to each other all this time, and you know what? Credit to Paulo Costa, the whole juice thing that he's got going on. It's really a good gimmick, to be quite honest with you, right? Because a lot of people have speculated for a long time that uh, Paulo Costa is on juice. He just has the body frame for it, like the eye test sort of fails him every time. But that's not indicating that he actually did take juice or anything like that, right? Although I wouldn't put it past him. But nonetheless, yeah, that is the reality of all of this. So yeah, it would be a great super fight. It would be a great super fight if they got nothing else going on. But yeah, I wouldn't put it past the UFC making that the next fight up, because I could absolutely see that being the next fight up is the UFC taking on um, Hamzat and Sean. Victory says Dennis versus Perry Saturday. Wow, man, I did not even know that, man. I did not even know that that was a thing. So okay, Dennis versus Perry Saturday. Um, so you got UFC China at night. You got UFC China at night. Um, you got no, I'm sorry, not at night, at midnight, because it's gonna be midnight at West Coast time, right? So you got UFC China midnight. You got um UFC China midnight. Okay, Moses Otama Saturday morning, right? And when I mean midnight, I'm talking about Friday midnight, like the border between Friday and Saturday. That's when UFC China starts, right? MMA, yes, I know they're both going to fight MMA. I think it's great for Mike Perry to do that, right? Jumping into MMA after fighting Nate Diaz. Nate is a little bit easier, believe it or not, compared to Dylan Dennis, because whatever was strong about uh, Nate Diaz before, we didn't see any of it. Right? Like the boxing, okay, that boxing didn't do much. The striking looked horrible. He was holding on to the cage while he was trying to do a side kick, like a beginner at Taekwondo. It just looked bad, right? Whereas with Dennis, he did have some boxing experience, right? Obviously, a world jiu-jitsu champion. So, this is a step up for Mike Perry, right? In his road going back to MMA, at least in high level MMA, that is, right? So then, yeah, okay, that's what we got Saturday. Friday morning or Friday night. So Friday night is UFC China, like late at night, right? Like in the border of Saturday or so, right? That's why it's an overseas card. And in the morning time, you got Moses Otama. That's under the Frank Lawrence Queensberry Promotions, of course. And then you got who else you got? You got yeah, Dennis versus Perry. So that's what you got Saturday. Victory says Dennis definitely going for the heel hook. Victory says I don't see him getting a traditional takedown though. I bet he pulls guard like a biatch. Um, I think he'll attempt some kind of takedowns. Remember, man, Dylan Dennis has been competing in wrestling, right? Now, I know that he got technical falls, and I think he got pinned one time. I'm not sure in RAF, right? But he has wrestling experience, so there is a great chance that he'll try and take down um, Mike Perry, right? Considering that he has more of the takedown prowess in comparison to Mike Perry. Like, think about it. Who is more susceptible into doing the takedowns? Is it Mike Perry or is it Mike Perry or is it Dylan Dennis? I think Dylan Dennis. I think Dylan Dennis has has a higher propensity of pulling it off. Honestly, Soon Tenchi says, "Bro, why are you ignoring my earlier comments? I thought you were a humble guy." Um. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see this. Okay. Okay. I didn't see that last part. He says, "In the gym altercation, could be honest. Do you think Hamzat is a bully when people holding him back? I mean, come on, bro. He's not entering the cage when Paulo is alone at the UFC PI." Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I think Kamzat is a bit of a bully. He really is, and I'm going to be very honest about that, right? Yeah, I think that he is a bully. Um, why is he a bully though? Well, here's the thing, right? The reason why the reason why he's a bully is because he grew up a little bit differently than the other Dagestanis. Okay, if you notice, he got at Polo Costa's girl. That's not something the Dagestanis would do. I saw a video or an AI picture of Islam Makhachev and Layla, right, the wife of Ian Gary, right, as sort of like symbolic of Islam Makhachev's prize, uh, of winning, right? I mean, obviously that's made up, that's AI, that's just not something you're going to see out of Islam Makhachev do or attempt, right? It's not his stilo, it's just not what he does. But it is what Kamzat does. Kamzat will get at your girl and will ask you what now. Okay, there's that. There's elements of that with Kamzat. Why? Because you know what? Kamzat grew up in the Western world. He grew up in Sweden, which is the Western world. And as a result of growing up in the Western world, what you got is a braggadocious attitude, right? You kind of saw that with the Sean Strickland press conference, the pre-fight press conference, just right before they were going to have the fight, right? Days before they were going to have the fight. If you notice, man, Sean Strickland got him into that position of arguing these things, right? He got him arguing these notions, these weird notions of oh well, I have more money than you, you're poor, and all this other stuff, right? Is things that's completely out of character towards what Dagestani fighters to be. Now, obviously, um, not all Dagestani fighters are monolithic, but if you're in Khabib's team, there's a little bit of that going on, right? There's a little bit of a cohesive unit aspect to their uh, culture. So, something to think about. Yeah. But all right, who do I? Okay, so I'll make a couple of predictions for this weekend, right? I got Moses Lama. I'm going to go round number 8. He's going to get an 8-round knockout. Mike Perry versus Dylan Dennis. I'm going with Mike Perry. I think that he has the better MMA striking. I think that he can also prevent a lot of takedowns. I think that he does take down Mike Perry. Yeah, I think that he does take down Mike. I think that he does take down Mike Perry, but I think Mike Perry is going to stop more takedowns than him actually getting taken down. And then you're going to see the striking play out for Mike Perry. He's going to jab him up, possibly win by points. Is this 2 rounds or one? I'm sorry. Is this 3 rounds or 5 rounds? Uh, so Tensky says he is involving Polo. He is invoking Polo in the gym to come to the cage to his side when we have 20 guys with him. Polo invited him when he is single and starting abusing Polo only when people are holding him back like a coward. Okay, well, I don't know about all that, right? I got to see the video to really get a context into what you're talking about. And if that is the case, Victory says, I think 5. Okay. Uh, MMA outside of the UFC, if they can help it, they don't do 5 rounds. I don't think Ronda and Gina Carano was scheduled for 5 rounds, were they? If they were, let me know in the comment section below if they were scheduled for 5 rounds or not. But let me know. Um, yeah, because whether it's 5 rounds or 3, I think that's going to make a difference. That's going to make a significant difference. The reason why that's going to make a significant difference is because I don't think I don't think Dylan Danis has fought 5 rounds yet. It's 3 rounds. I was mistaken. Okay, I kind of figured. Yeah, Dylan Danis is not up to 5 rounds yet. Yeah, he's not a 5 round fighter yet. Yet. And I don't think jujitsu experience in jiu-jitsu is going to help you be a 5 round fighter because 5 round cardio is a completely different animal. It is. It's a completely different animal when you're dealing with 5 round cardio. It's completely different. Completely different. Sean Strickland will show you that it's different. Rob could show you that it's different. But yeah. Viral says, how? Hi, brother. Viraj. Hi, brother. How are you doing in your daily life? Very good, man. Very good. My daily life couldn't get any better. Look at that. It couldn't get any better. This is where I drive around every day, and out here in a beautiful sunny California, life couldn't get any better. Um, Victory says Danis has only had 3 MMA fights, and he's taken on Mike Perry. Man, I tell you what, sometimes you need that. Sometimes, right? We really need to find out where you're at, okay? Because those other MMA fights that he had in Misfits, obviously those were setups. Those were set up for him to win. Those guys were not, real fighters. He says, you still ignore my comment. Where is your comment? I read your comment. Did you not see me read your comment about, how 20 guys try to jump him? Like, I didn't ignore your comment, my boy. Yeah, I did not ignore your comment at all. So, I don't know what to tell you, man. But if you want to write, your next comment, you're obviously more than welcome to. So yeah, um, we may yeah we're probably gonna take this back to the studio. This live stream that we got going on right now. We're gonna take it back to the studio with this one. So Mirage says, brother, since I don't have any friend to talk about MMA from today onwards, you will be my daily friend. All right. Yes, this is a perfect place to talk MMA. Slode says, bro, he said he needs to get revenge on Charles and Max. That's a very good point, Slode. Here's the thing, right? I don't think he should do that. Okay, and you could be right, and I say that. And obviously, there's a little bit of some clickbait motivation behind the title. Obviously, you got to do that once in a while. You got to do that to kind of garner attention for your channel. But it is what it is, right? Um, what I will say is that it doesn't get any better than the White House. And even if you were to win after the White House, okay, it's a revenge tour that he wants, right? What did he say? He wants Max and Charles, right? Okay. There's a possibility in that. Conor McGregor is out for a year. I think that he wants to run it back with Max, Conor McGregor. But we're gonna have to wait for International Fight Week 2027. That's what we gotta wait for. So I'm sure Max wants to get active, and I'm sure if Justin Gaethje is not going to retire, he wants to stay active. So what will he do in the process of staying active? Well, he's going to go with Charles for a revenge, or he's going to go with Max for a revenge. So he still has, okay, I get it. He still has certain motivations. He still has certain motivations, right? But I'm going to be honest with you, it does not get any better than the White House. It doesn't. Leave your career as is. It's kind of like this, right? Um, Boys in the Hood. You see how that movie ended, right? At the end of the movie, at the end of the movie, they didn't show you that Doughboy got killed, right? Because he did. That it told you on the caption. 2 weeks later, Doughboy got killed. But at the end of the movie, Doughboy did not get killed. Okay, he did the shooting. He got the revenge for Ricky, and he rode off into the sunset or into the night, right? Whatever setting of time that was when they did the drive by, right? He got away. That is how you end it right there. Now, if you want to say, all right, later on, he got slept, he got caught lacking, he got hit. Okay, cool. But it would not have made the movie any better seeing Doughboy get killed. Although in the end they let you know on the caption 2 weeks later Doughboy gets killed. Fine, but that's not how the movie ends. The movie ends with him standing on top of his op, shooting him in his head. Okay, crawling for his life, begging for mercy. The same way that he made his brother beg for mercy, running into that alley, shooting him with a shotgun. Viraj says, brother, I think Justin can get through by Charles by just stuffing his takedown and just staying out of range of his power hand. I agree. I agree. Look, like what I told you about Bruce Lee, right? I told you about Bruce Lee. I said the following. I said that, of course, he can compete in the UFC because people's assumption that you have to have these superhuman-like attributes to be an MMA fighter. You don't. You need a little bit of technique, maybe a little some attributes, and everything is tossed up into the various result that comes out of that chaotic situation that you call mixed martial arts. Okay? So that means that anybody can win at any given time, meaning that your win streaks are not necessarily indicative of the fact that you did everything right. In fact, there are some things that you did wrong. And then you losing also doesn't indicate that you did everything wrong. You may have done a lot of things. That is how you judge the. Justin will be fighting for the winner of Armin versus Rupin. But if the fight goes wrong, he might retire. What do you think? Yeah, I think that he should retire. Look, think about this, right? Losing again is going to destroy that storybook ending he had going on. Winning again is not going to feel like anything. You ever watch Belly? Oh yes, Belly was amazing with DMX, Nas, all those guys. Yes, very amazing stuff. Very very amazing stuff indeed. All right, we're gonna head into the studio, guys. We're going to start hour number 2 into the studio. And right back into the studio. You guys are gonna see me sitting down in the studio, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hold on just a second. But yeah, what about Belly, Dougley? Let me know what brought up Belly. Was it me bringing up the Boys in the Hood comparison earlier, like how the story would end there, Gaethje, or was it just one of those movies is a big throwback to you? Let me know in the comments section below. Uh, Raj, yes, I do. I do. I do try to go live. Slowed asks, do you watch animation videos by Mojit? Yes, yes. Funny stuff, right? He usually I believe he's Persian. I'm not sure if he's Persian, Arab, or but yeah, yeah, he does a lot of videos about the Dagestanis and and Dana White, just just MMA in general, he goes into. So, a lot of funny stuff for sure. A lot of funny content, coming out of that guy. Yep, yep. Hold on, guys. We're almost in the studio right now. So, but what about those animations? Is there any new animations that he put forth that's relevant to current MMA news right now? Let me know on the comment section below. Yeah, some of the stuff that he did with Tony Ferguson back in the days, those animations that he did about Tony Ferguson, about Khabib, uh, Connor. Yeah, man, those are some classic stuff. Dana White, uh, they look realistic too, right? Almost kind of AI-ish in a way. But yeah, all right, stay tuned, guys. We're almost there. We're almost there, okay? Slowed says he just dropped one about Makachev planning to move up, I think. Move up? Like move up more? Like move up more in weight? Like as in move up to 185? Man, Islam Makachev moving up to 185. I don't know, man. You know what? Man, wrestling wins fights. If he can get there, if he can bring Sean Strickland down there, I mean, sky's the limit. three world three weight world champion. Why not? But is that what you mean when you say that he made a video about him moving up? Is that what you meant? Let me know. All right, Shaw. Sorry about that. Okay, so slowed ass. Any predictions about Umar versus Song? So I think that's going to be a tough fight for Umar. Nonetheless, I think that he pulls it off, but it's going to be a very difficult fight. I think that it's not going to be easy. But I think I think there's a good chance that he doesn't get a finish. Even though I'm very confident that Omar wins it, I have a feeling that he is going to have some serious difficulties. Okay. I think that Song may hurt Umar a couple of times in this fight, and I hope that he prepares for that. I hope that I hope that he prepares for that. I hope that he prepares for the reality that he could get hurt in this fight. But I think that he's going to persevere through it, like a typical Nurmagomedov, moment. He's going to, uh, yeah, I think that he's absolutely going to persevere. But I don't think either of them can finish each other. I think it's just too much of a high level fight. That's what I think it is. It's too much of a high level fight. And on top of that, I think that Song Yadong is going to get out wrestled. But he hits hard. And I think that's the only viable option that he has going on here. That's what I think. So, um, I did have a full prediction on that card, by the way, if you want to check it out. Let me see what video I had put my full Shanghai UFC Shanghai prediction at. Let me see here. Let me see here. Just Scandabigo says Usman or Magomedov negotiations with PFL are still ongoing, but I have turned down 2 million per fight. But I have turned down 2 million per fight. So is that what they were going to offer him at PFL? Was 2 million per fight? Is that what was on the table there? 2 million per fight, and what they just decided that okay, this is not a good idea, or they thought that maybe he could make more money elsewhere. What's the haps on that? If you don't mind telling me. Yeah, let me know. That's interesting to know right there. Okay, there we go. Got had to switch up the thumbnail that I got going on here. There we go. All right. John Dong says, "What's up, man? Shout out to you, John Dong." Scandabigo says, "First offer, Uzman wants a bigger number." John Dong says, who would you pick between Jalen Turner and Fiziev?" Man, that's a tough fight, man. I might have to go with Jalen Turner on that one. Jalen Turner is looking really, really good right now, right? The way that he came in there, after a while, man, that was he was anxious to get in there, and indeed he showed that anxiousness through positivity. I think that Jalen Turner may be a little bit too big for him. He's also got serious knockout power for a lanky guy, right? Yeah, he's going to present serious problems for Fiziev. I think I don't know what sort of problems Fiziev could really offer Jalen Turner. That would be a good fight, though. That would be a good fight to look forward to. Indeed, that would absolutely be a good fight. Um, hmm, let's see. What is today? The 27th. Okay, so today is the 27th. Okay. I wanted to go on this right here. Let me see here. Can this video about Bruce Lee? Can Bruce Lee really fight? That is the here we go. Let's talk about this. So okay, Dana White. This is what Dana White had to say about that. Obviously not very good, or I wouldn't be a promoter. Would Bruce Lee at his peak be able to contend with today's top MMA fighters? It's such an unfair question. I'm such a huge Bruce Lee fan. I mean, Bruce Lee in his day, we wouldn't be where we are today without Bruce Lee. So to try to compare him to today's fighters is ridiculous. Obviously not very good, or I wouldn't be a promoter. I think that's a fair comment by Dana White. He says that, I would not be, the UFC would not be where it's at today if it wasn't for Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is the quintessential father of mixed martial arts, right? Putting it all together. But like all things, they all evolve, and fighting evolves, sport evolves. So, obviously he would have a hard time dealing with modern UFC fighters. Okay, so let's see what Michael Jai White had to say about that. Bruce Lee is fighting Bruce Lee. Whose fist is he going to intercept? His own? No. No, he won't. He can't. No, he can't. That's like having a Mike Tyson style of boxing, which means I'll just hit you way harder than you hit me. It's not a style to base anything on. Bruce Lee's speed or whatever, and the greatest martial artist who ever lived. He wasn't a real fighter. He didn't test himself in the ring. I even, to be honest, questioned myself. I was always as fast as a lightweight, but, I'm a heavyweight. I don't know if I would be in it if people hit me the way I hit them. Bruce Lee is fighting Bruce Lee. Whose fist is he going? Okay, so okay, there's this video 3 years ago. Could Bruce Lee fight? This was made by some guy named Connor Gentry. Let's see what he had to say about this. We need to get one thing straight. Right here, right now, man to man. I'm not here to hate on the Bruce Lee agenda in MMA. I'm here to make sure that people who view my content have correct and accurate opinions on the sport. What seems to be the worst take I always hear is the belief that Bruce Lee is legit. This video is to tell you that you are wrong, and I'm not trying to insult you. Take this as a gift from me to you. Okay, so he's saying that he doesn't think that Bruce Lee can fight. Let's find out why. Your knowledge going forward as a fan of the sport, and especially if you're thinking about pursuing MMA yourself. This is the absolute first thing you need to know. This is the lowest low tier of being a casual or a poser that you could possibly be. The same people that think Bruce Lee is legit are the same people you see going on street beefs and getting knocked out in front of millions of people. And trust me, that is a very sad way to go, and that is not who you want to be. Some users may find the following Bruce Lee footage disturbing. All right, so this is one of these one punch demonstrations that that they had with Bruce Lee. Slowdown says, "Do you think if Usman signed in the UFC, would he spawn in the top 10? A top 5, I would say. Yeah, top 5 straight away." Oh, brother, this guy stinks. The Bruce Lee believers out there so convinced. Was he your childhood hero? Is it his wise philosophy? Is it the way he looks in fight scenes? Yeah, so look, that's an important question, right? Why is it that we believe this Bruce Lee hype train, right? What is it? And is it a hype train or is it really just an overstated analysis?
If Bruce Lee was in the UFC, he would most likely fight at bantamweight, maybe even featherweight, considering he's about 140 lean. So you're telling me if he got in the octagon with anyone in the bantamweight division, he would win a single fight? The hard truth is, he couldn't even fight in amateur MMA. He's an undeniable legend when it comes to acting, filmmaking, and making high pitched noises, but there is never a time.
Okay, so that's a very good point. That is a very good point, right? I think the high pitch, yelling, the fancy kicks, the fact that he's a big movie star, I honestly think that's sort of the reason why we believe this hype. But here's the thing, right? Nobody is saying that Bruce Lee can't fight. At least I'm not. What I agree with this gentleman on is the fact that he's not necessarily a championship level fighter, is he? Right? I think that's a fair, an honest assessment to make, right? He's not a championship level fighter, not by a long shot. And I think that is a fair and absolutely fair assessment to make about Bruce. He is not a championship level fighter, but can he compete in the UFC? Anybody can compete in the UFC is what I'm trying to tell you. Anybody can make it into the UFC. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Now easier than ever, right? Now staying in there and being champion, that's another thing, but that's the main topic at hand that we are trying to discuss, right? Is he legit? Well, he's a legit fighter, but is he a legit champion martial artist? That's the question that we all want to know.
Time where Bruce Lee was a serious competitor in any mixed martial arts. Let's talk about when Bruce Lee won the Inter-School Individual Boxing Championship. Sounds legit, right? This is Bruce Lee's only real fight, and he won. The catch is, the guy we beat, Gary Elms, has never even fought before. Not only has the guy never fought before, but he's never fought after either. There's not even any proof of this fight ever happening. It was a completely staged boxing match between two guys who do not know how to fight. So when people bring up the argument of Mike Tyson versus,
You also got to understand too, right? Back in the days, martial arts competition was not heavily available like that. Okay, yeah, it wasn't heavily available like that. There was boxing, there was amateur boxing, there was wrestling, and then that was it. And then maybe a few taekwondo and a few tournaments here and there.
Bruce Lee, it's an immediate red flag letting everyone around them know that person has no idea what they're talking about. 140-pound Bruce Lee versus 220-pound Mike Tyson is insane. If Mike Tyson was 100 pounds, it wouldn't be competitive. Here's the long list of combat sports awards and achievements given to Bruce Lee. First, we have the previously mentioned Hong Kong Interschool Boxing Championship, which is super legit. Next, we have the National Karate Championship, which I haven't mentioned. This took place in Washington, D.C. He was awarded for being in attendance all 4 years that he went, and he was even a judge in 1968, but he did not compete himself. And we have the Long Beach International Karate Championship, where he was awarded
This is where he did that 1 inch punch thing.
for his contribution, and that was the epic video we saw of him fighting earlier. You can argue that Bruce Lee was the first big name to mix combat sports together, and no doubt he was a face of that forefront. So it's not like all he did was movies. He definitely had a hand in the creation of MMA, but that does not mean he was good at it. The sport was still in its infant stages, and even today it's still considered a new sport. If you watch,
Okay, so that's a very important point to make right there, right? Very important point to make. Uh, he is a huge contributor to MMA. All right. You know who else is a huge contributor to MMA? Obviously, Ronda Rousey. But can Ronda Rousey compete in the modern? Well, some arguments say yes, right? But obviously, in the latter stages of her UFC career, the Amanda Nunes and the Holly Holmes fight would indicate otherwise, right? But that's the thing. Pioneers are not always top level guys in the modern era. One example of this is when Matt Hughes fought Royce Gracie. Matt Hughes at the time was the champion. Royce Gracie was undefeated. When he left MMA, he came back to fight a modern version, at the time, a modern version of an MMA fighter in Matt Hughes. And just like all things, the pioneer never does better than the ones that have cultivated themselves into the sport. Like, for example, the inventor of basketball, Dr. James Naismith, do you think that he can beat LeBron or Michael Jordan in basketball, even though he created it? It's kind of one of them things.
The NBA, for example, those guys are light years ahead from where they started, but MMA is not. Obviously, the skill level now compared to back then is night and day, but we have a very, very long way to go. The sport of MMA seems to be at its peak right about now, with new stars popping up every couple months from wrestlers like Hamza Islam to strikers like Pereira and Physique. Respect to Bruce Lee, rest in peace, and thank you for your contribution to creating MMA, but the argument that he had the knowledge to be able to train modern day fighters or even compete himself is ridiculous. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts or any points I might have missed. Make sure you leave a like on this video to help me out. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys.
All right, so I'm going to be honest with you, right? I think that he would have had some serious problems dealing with guys who are uh, wrestlers. I think that's what would have been his biggest problem going into MMA, right? What was wrestlers, right? You've seen them. They mentioned people like Kamzat, people like Islam. Um, Somebody like Usman Nurmagomedov would have given Bruce Lee problems. DJ, who's probably a little bit smaller than Bruce Lee, would have given him problems. Scandivigo says Bruce Lee wasn't practicing the sport MMA. He was practicing combat MMA before anyone else was doing it. Correct, correct. But it doesn't mean that in best modern practices that he would get away with, beating everybody. He just won. And like I said, he can compete. Because look, I know a lot of people love to say, oh, what if an athlete just got into MMA or this, that, and the other? Look, there's a certain skills to have to fight MMA, but then you also have to understand there's no right way of doing MMA. That's the crazy thing about it. There is no such thing as a right way of competing in MMA at all. So, something to think about in that one. Um, Yeah, something to think about. Okay, let's see here. Um, oh wow, what is this? Um, okay, Josh Hockett knows something about Tom Aspinall. Okay, let's hear what Chael Sonnen has to say about this. This is pretty interesting here.
Yeah, I told you. There's really no excuse anymore to have yellow. How come we don't know what's going on in heavyweight? The return of Tom Aspinall is imminent, but it's also very clear that it will be Tom versus Surreal. Like, we don't totally know in our industry what an interim championship is, but we do all at least agree that it's a number one contender's belt.
Scandibigo says Bruce Lee was ahead of the game back then. If he was born in this era, he would still be ahead, just like GSP and John. Um, well, here's the thing, right? That's kind of the problem is that, we're talking about two different eras to which one cannot coexist with each other. So therefore, everything that we're kind of saying is speculatory. But for his day, yes, he was very well rounded for his day. And for whatever martial arts competition was available during that time, of course.
If you are the interim champion, you are the next person to fight.
They have superior MMA brains. Who in particular are those MMA brains that you're talking about? Let me know.
The undisputed champion, when the undisputed champion fights. And even for you smart marks that could tell me a time that didn't happen, I'm aware of that. But I'm saying that we agree that that's what it should. We all agree that that's what we believe it to me. Okay. Well, how come I'm not hearing that Tom's going to fight Surreal? I mean, if it's as simple as that, and I think it is as simple as that, why have I not heard that? Not meant to be a trick question,
Okay,
but
well, a couple of ways to answer that, right? The reason why, Chael, you haven't heard that is because, number one, the UFC is not going to announce their fights ahead of time, right? If you notice, there's a linear pattern in how they announce fights, right? They make matchmakings on Tuesday. Maybe the following week, Dana White comes up with an announcement, right? He makes you wait on Twitter or Instagram, wherever he does these lives to tell you about the next matchups coming up. And that's just what they do, right? Usually you'll hear about it at most 2 months in advance. That's the most that you'll get is like 2 months in advance of hearing about a fight.
by the way, one logical answer, James Madden told me earlier today that we are going to hear, but that's what's going to be known as the MSG card in November. We are going to get the announcement of Surreal and Tom.
So there you go, right? November. How far along is that? We're in August right now, going into September. So at most, they will let you know by late September if that is the fight that is going to happen. So if you don't know anything right now, it's because they're making you wait till late September. That's usually how it goes if you have a November card going on.
That's just coming and we're just a little bit ahead of it. Okay, fair enough. I can live with that. I just feel that I would have heard. I just feel that somebody might have mentioned that somewhere. Eddie Hearn himself, who's supposed to be a Bodini Brown, who's supposed to be a carnival marker for Tom. Did Eddie get the new contract done? Has Eddie decided they're going to fight out this contract? Was this next fight not really relevant?
And there you go. This is why you're probably not hearing a lot, or why you're probably going to experience a whole lot of friction in the UFC offices in the future. Aaron Maga says Patty just got fined 2,500 for exiting the cage before Bruce Buffer could announce the results. A small chump change, I suppose, but it is rather stupid. You know, just another way for the state to make money. Remember, guys, they could not get me on speeding tickets, so guess what they did, right? This is the same police agency, the same police township that's constantly like hounding me down, right? They get me for a seatbelt, okay? So, any way that they can try to make money. And I live in a pretty affluent part of town, so the people around here have money, so they don't have problem pulling people over, especially if you're, I don't know, somebody that um Dana should pay. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. I'm sure somewhere in whatever purse was given to Patty, it's Trump change for him.
Because the fact that Tom was going to return against Surreal was already done before Eddie got involved. I don't know the answer, but this sure would make great headlines. And Surreal is a gentleman. One thing about Surreal, we're not going to hear it from him. He's not going to come out and start calling out Tom and start demanding and get him in here soon, get him in here or strip him and make me the champ. Surreal's just not going to do that. But we would understand where Tom would want to defend himself and get back in there with Surreal, not to mention Tom has been met with this resistance from the community. People he thought were his friends, he finds out, oh man, I'm in a pretty tough thing here. And I think that Tom would like to give them an answer. Like, go, hey, I'm back. I'm in the gym. I'm training. I'm waiting on these guys. I'm ready to go. It's going to be Surreal. We all know it's Surreal. I'll see Surreal. I would just think we might hear something like that. Or maybe we'd hear.
Aaron Maga says, I live in an upscale neighborhood. That's chump change around here. What, the 2,500? Sure, sure.
From the UFC, or maybe some of the other contenders would know, because the only one speaking up is Hoket. And Hoket's making it pretty clear. I've got options. I got Piera as an option. I got Pat.
He does. He does have Piera as an option, right? Even though Piera is not a champion fighter right now, right? Being that he vacated 205 and it being that Josh Hockett refuses to go anywhere, nowhere near below 205 pounds. Yeah. That sounds like a pretty good money fight for him. Not a championship fight, but, or if Tom vacates, just like this title that I have of Justin Gaethje vacating, then we have ourselves some new contenders. Slow Down says, shouldn't Connor versus Max to be a no contest? No, no. You got hurt during a fight, right? That can't be a no contest. Remember, the aim is to hurt. If you're hurt in there, then then they're gonna, whether you like it or not, or whether you see it that way, they're going to deem it as whatever action happened there hurt this guy. So therefore, that is a contribution to Max Holloway, even if Max Holloway did absolutely nothing to cause that leg to be that way.
Average. But I want Surreal. Now, why would he be calling out Surreal? I don't have the answer. I can call him and ask him right now, but I haven't. I'm sharing with you. I haven't.
Hit the like button, guys, and send some super chats.
Asked him. But let me try to do some detective work. He would be calling out Surreal because he's hearing that Tom isn't coming back. And if we ever got to that point of Hokit versus Surreal,
so that's interesting, right? So what Chael Sonnen is saying is that Hokit is already positioning himself for the title shot, meaning that he's anticipating Tom Aspinall not coming back. He's anticipating that Tom Aspinall might vacate the belt, just like what I have here titled for the Justin Gaethje story. And he's positioning himself as a #1 contender or somebody that is a top op for Cyril Gane, right? I can only imagine what um I could only imagine what Tom Aspinall is thinking right now. But it seems that Josh Hawkins seems to know something we don't know. I don't know.
Surreal next. If we got to that point, the question would
Aaron Maga says, Gone sleeps Hawkett. You know what? I can actually see a world that happens, Aaron Maga. I could actually see a world that happens.
Definitely, what are they fighting for? It would seem as though they would need to be fighting for the undisputed championship. The very reason we have an interim belt is in the event that we cannot have a return of the undisputed champion. Now, I know that we have defended the interim belt before, but it wasn't right. It really wasn't right. It wasn't the intent. That interim belt was never meant to be defended. It was just to buy you time until the champion could get back. And by the way, if the fights start coming around and he can't come back, the interim champion becomes the undisputed champion. Just for him.
Isaiah says, send him 2 to 3 years in Dagestan and forget. Yes, brother. Send 2-3 years Dagestan and forget. Your wrestling be better, brother. You be good wrestling. You not like infidel, like these stupid kafirs in America and this and that. You have good wrestling. You'll be good Muslim and you'll be better fighter as a result. Yes.
Mind you, that's how Tom got the belt. There's nothing wrong or unusual about that.
Yeah, there's a lot unusual and wrong about that. Okay, for example, take this, right? Being the fact that Tom Aspinall won the belt that way, John Jones won the belt that way, and on top of that, Francis Ngannou left the belt as is, only for him to be a linear champion outside of the UFC. No one in the UFC could touch him for it or challenge him as that. Scandabigo says Chael yapping random words. He sucks. I don't know about if he's yapping random words. Look, honestly, I've been compared to Chael Sonnen before. Okay, my delivery, my voice, the way that actually, Nick Fuentes. I sound more like Nick Fuentes than I do Chael Sonnen. Actually, Chael has a little bit more of a deeper voice than me. But yeah.
So Hokit, who doesn't have a fight, who I believe is the biggest star.
Actually, Chael doesn't really have like that deep DMX bass voice either, right? He kind of has that very squeaky sound to him, like like I do, like what me and Nick Fuentes has going on. But yeah,
heavyweight division. I don't believe anybody can command the attention. I don't think anybody can get as many questions at a press conference. I don't think anybody can.
Slow Down says, would it be better for Alex to cut down to around 230? He was too heavy at the White House. He was slower and seemed to be tired already at the first round. I mean, this was a huge miscalculation on his part, right? He saw that John Jones was gaining weight for his heavyweight debut. Here's the difference, though. John Jones can wrestle. And if you can wrestle, you can use that extra weight as a weapon. If you're a striker, extra weight is not exactly helpful to you, right? And it certainly was detrimental to whatever striking skills that he had left. Isaiah says Chael sounds like an old grandpa from the 1950s who speaks in punchlines. Meh. Yeah, see?
Get people more interested in what's next in the heavyweight division than Josh Hogan. Hogan doesn't think Tom's coming back. That's what I think. If he did, he wouldn't be calling out Surreal. He would be talking about, I'm going to take on the winner of Surreal and Tom. But he's made his play very clear, and it's after Surreal. And I just wonder why. And moreover, I'm wondering why we don't know. And I'm pausing here. I read all of the comments, and if you guys know something, if you have a prediction like Matt does, but I've heard many different things for the MSG card. Many that I do not believe. Another one that I heard was going to be Ilya Tapor.
Yeah, so they're talking about Ilya Tapora versus Charles Oliveira for MSG. I mean, I can't see why that isn't a possibility. Now, it's up to Ilya Tapora if he wants to come right back straight away. Isaiah says, Tom's cooked, man. Even if he recovers, he's never going to be the same fighter no matter what. That is a very good point. That is a very good point. Because look, here's the thing, right? He goes in there and he fights Cyril Gane, right? What's going to happen? Cyril Gane is going to see everything. He's not going to see anything. Meaning that when you have a striker like Cyril Gane who constantly loads your mind with different feints, different moves, right? Moving around, circling around, it's going to be very difficult for you to find your range with him. It's going to be very difficult. Like, where is he? How do I touch him? Where do I touch him? How do I get to him? Right? It's going to be very difficult. The defense of Tom Aspinall is going to be compromised because, for one, what if I'm not sure which part of his eye is hurt. Like, we don't know if it's going to affect his peripheral vision or his front vision or whatever, right? It's going to affect something, but what we don't know. But that is a very good point, Isaiah. Like, I really don't see how he's going to be the same fighter ever again.
Ilya versus Charles, it was going to be for the BMF belt. I know that is floating around. I don't believe that. And I heard that we were going to get Ilya versus Arman Sarukian. And that's a great fight, and I could see them fighting at MSG, but I don't believe that would be the main event. MSG historically has always had a title. As a matter of fact, there was a huge card that was going to be attended by the president and The Rock, the biggest star in Hollywood. Right? I mean, the stars were coming out, and we had to create a title just to make sure that we had a title. That's how important having a title was. We've had interim titles contested there because that's how important a title was. So I don't think that we're going to do a main event of Sarukian versus Ilya, just for example. I also don't think if Sarukian is successful against.
You know what? How about this for an MSG card in November, right? What about Paddy versus Ilya Tapora? Now, how awesome would that be? Paddy versus Ilya Tapora. Think about how awesome that would be, right? That would be an awesome matchup if you think about it. But yeah, who knows? All right, let's get back to this.
It's goofy that he will do anything other than be announced next for Gaethje, but conversation for a different day. Those are pretty good rumors that I just shared with you. How come I don't have a rumor at heavyweight? And how?
Slowed says, is Charles Duck and Armin using his friend's funeral as an excuse? That's what it seems to be. Harsh says, bro, please spell Ilya Tapora properly. Ilya Tapora. I mean, All right. I suppose you just spelled it out properly, other than the fact that you don't have capital letters in the beginning of the name. I mean, yeah, I don't know what you want me to do with that, Harsh.
How come I don't have a rumor at heavyweight specifically to do with our undisputed champion versus our interim champion, which very clearly have to fight each other? By the way, we're announced to fight each other. By the way, we're announced that they were going to fight next before the interim championship even existed. Dana White made it clear the night that Surreal and Tom fought the first time that he's going to rematch them. And Surreal risked that number one contender.
Um, Fight Scope talks as hot take Holloway beats Ilya in lightweight. Explain why. Explain why that is. Explain why he would beat him. Is it because Max, with a little bit more size, is much more formidable? Is it because he's cutting less weight, which makes his punches a lot harder? Harsh says, bro, what do you think about Usman or Magomedov in the UFC? I think if he was to be signed with the UFC straight away, jump him up to top five, right? I think that he can handle that level of competition. I think that he is right up there with the top five guys in the UFC's division. A lot of people are speculating, right? Some of the people in my chats are speculating that he's going to go with the PFL because the PFL is going to offer him money. But I argue that, and I'm sure many people who know enough about the Nurmagomedovs and Team Eagle, you would know that they are the type of people to go for legacy, right? UFC is the NFL, right? Nobody who grew up playing American football with pigskins and helmet pads and all of that say that, you know what, I'm going to grow up to be a CFL player, Canadian Football League, or some other football league in a country that is not America, that primarily is also not the NFL. If you are a football player, it's the NFL. If you are a basketball player, it's the NBA. If you are a hockey player, it is the NHL. If you are an MMA fighter, it is a UFC. And that is the psychological um, narrative and the psychological stranglehold that the UFC has on the whole entire industry. Um, let's see here. Isaiah says Armin isn't exactly in the UFC's good graces, so that ain't the problem. Okay. YT says he's saying pronounce the I in Tuporia. Tuporia. Okay, got it. Tuporia. Got it. Tuporia. Har says, do you know uh, Arslov? Yes, he's 30-1. Bro, he's a problem in the welterweight division right now. A great future fight for Islam Makhachev. Think about it like this, right? The story writes itself out. Ukrainian versus Russian. We don't know to what extent Team Nurmagomedov supports the Russian war against Ukraine, right? We don't know. For all we know, they could be very much against the war in Ukraine, right? Maybe they side with the Ukrainians. Maybe they side with no one at all. But think about this: Amislav, 30-1. Islam Makhachev is 29-1. Very identical records, and they are both in the welterweight division. And Yaroslav was a former champion in Bellator before he signed with the UFC. There's this great storyline that just writes itself right there. Ukraine versus Russia. You know, I said to myself a few times when Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fought Alexander Usyk, I said, just out of banter, not out of anything serious, man, these guys should walk out with like Russian tanks or something, right? Very similar to what's his name? Um, what is that WWE superstar's name? Um, uh, Rusev. Rusev. If you remember, he did an entrance back in, I believe, it was the same WrestleMania that was in the Bay Area. So WrestleMania 31. He walked out to WrestleMania 31 with a Russian tank. They had the whole national anthem playing and everything. But really, that was me trying to get Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury to cosplay a Russian, right? Because he's fighting a Ukrainian guy. Well, now you actually, yes, he's Bulgarian, right? But he depicted himself as a Russian athlete, right? A representative of the Russian athletes, right? That was his representation. Nonetheless, uh, none of these guys are Russian, right? Not Rusev, who's Bulgarian, not Tyson Fury, not Anthony Joshua. But guess what? Amislov is actually Ukrainian, and Islam Makhachev is actually Russian. So the story writes itself out. Ahar says, bro, did you see the beef between Islam and Marab right now? No. What is that going on? Maybe that could be a title for the next live stream. All right. I got to do more research on that. If you care to fill me on some info of that down below, let me know. What is the reason behind their beef? Sandabigo says, um, I don't think Muslims have egos. Usman will pick money for his family to have when he's gone. But he's also an athlete who wants to achieve greatness, and I'm leaning towards the UFC. Okay, but we'll see. Fight Scope says, okay, this is about Max Holloway because I asked him why he thinks Max Holloway could beat Ilya at 55. He says, because remember, Max, to me, he's more suitable and comfortable fighting at 155 than 45 and got way more experience at lightweight. But Ilya has one fight in a division and lost that fight. That's why, bro. Okay. Not one fight, obviously two. One of them he lost, one of them he won. Scandabigo says, I don't think, okay, we read that part. Harsh says the beef. Okay, we read that part. Okay, so Fight Scope says Max to me he's more suitable. Okay, yeah, we read that part. He's more suitable at 155. Okay, yes, we read that part. Um, what else here? Uh, okay, I think I caught up with that one. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I caught up with everything you guys wrote there. All right, back to Chael.
Against El-Kheer. Now, in fairness, the night that Dana announced that El-Kheer was not yet a heavyweight. Dana was operating on the information that he had. He didn't have that, so we found a way to solve that. Looking to hire? ZipRecruiter delivers candidates with the right skills and experience fast. So fast that 4 out of 5 employers who post them.
Yeah, Fight Scope talks. That's hard for me to disagree with that, right? I think some people are far more dangerous in other weight classes. For example, I think there is a reason why you don't see John Jones and Daniel Cormier fight at heavyweight, right? All of their fights have been at light heavyweight, yet they were both former heavyweight champions themselves and have done and dominated the heavyweight divisions themselves. Fight Scope Talk says, do you think Charles should have a title to title fight with a rematch with Justin to show who's the king of the lightweight? That is what Justin said that he was going to do if he doesn't retire, right? But I think Dean Thomas was right, says hi. Hello, Dean Thomas was right. Watch you being the real Dean Thomas, right? Like that would be crazy. But I think yeah, the king at 155, huh? Between them. Hmm. Um Scanabigo says Marab is trying to shit on Umar in Russia and still think that and still be friendly with Khabib and Islam. I don't think Marab understands how family works. Oh, okay, okay. Got it. Right. See, that's the thing with them, right? See, other teammates and other people that you train with, they're probably not going to care, right? But if you train with guys like Omar or Usman or Khabib or Islam, it's a gang mentality for them. They will gang up on you in some kind of way. Slode says, wasn't Max a lifetime 145er, except much fewer fights at 155 compared to 145? Wasn't Max a lifetime 45er, much fewer fights at 55 compared to 45? He has more fights at 55 than Ilya. Several fights. several more fights than Ilya at 155. He was first off, he was going to fight Khabib at 155, but he didn't. But he did end up fighting Dustin at 155 for a rematch. He fought Justin, which beat him. Harsh says Marab was upset seeing Islam's team bring the Russian flag into the octagon. He felt it was unfair since he wasn't allowed to bring the Georgian flag. Issues was the UFC's double standard, not with Islam. Um, yeah, that is funny, right? Because for a long time, Connor did sort of allude to the fact that what, these guys don't even carry their flags when they fight, right? Which was an interesting observation from Connor, and I kind of know why, or at least I thought I knew why. Islam, Khabib, and none of those guys carry their flag. I thought it was due to religious reasons, right? There's, believe it or not, guys, there's a history of anti-Muslim sentiments in Russia. Now, it's almost like they have to play nice with them because let's be honest about this. Russia's toughest military members are Muslim. Um, their toughest fighters are Muslim. Militarily and combat sports wise, it is their Muslim athletes that are the dominant people of that country, at least in terms of sport and maybe even in terms of military as well, right? At least military, Russian military representation. But now they seem to, really be embracing it. And for whatever reason, it offends Marab. Remember, guys, one of the most horrible things that Patty said to Ilya Topora was, oh, I can see why the Russians are terrorizing your people. So there's some tension there with the Russians. Fight Scope says, I think Kamaru should retire. Okay. He has nothing else to prove, and he's done. His knees can't allow him to further. Yeah, yeah. And right now, top five welterweights beats Usman. He's been damaged for a long time, hasn't he? Right. And even in between those damages that he has sustained over the years, he was still competing. Okay. Competing, by the way, at the highest level, at the championship level, he was still competing, which is absolutely insane to begin with. Absolutely insane. But he was able to do it. But the minute you have issues of even getting up because of your knees and all of that, you better believe that eventually that's going to catch up to you. And at what point and when will it catch up to you? You never know. You'll never know when it catches up to you, but eventually it does. So yeah, man. Wow. Just a horrible set of circumstances for Usman. Har says, bro, so basically Russia has colonized regions like Dagestan, Chechnya, etc. And in the past, they did what with Georgia and bombed them, and that's why Marab don't like Russian fighters. Okay, and there you go, right? So all of these regional rivalries that we see playing out in the world stage, we're now seeing in MMA, right? Because and here's the thing, this is why you can never separate politics from MMA. This is why I'm very adamant in doing political content with my MMA content because I know that it fits. I know that only in MMA it fits, right? Like for example, if I was a basketball channel, now how weird would it be for me to talk about politics in the midst of also doing uh the sport, right? It would be very weird. They would say, shut up and dribble, as they say in basketball. Sloat says, is Trevor Whitman the best striking coach? Could potentially be one of the best coaches ever, period. Victory says, I respected what Marab had to say about all of that. What in particular, Marty, if you can, elaborate for me? What is it that he said that you respected? Is it because he is speaking up for the pride of his people? Is he speaking up in defense of his people that you really respect? Or are there some political truths that you feel he has mentioned that you can resonate with? If so, let me know. Fight Scope Talk says, do you think Mauricio Rufy is the best striker in the UFC right now, above Ilya, Max, and Madalena? I think that people mistaken elusive movement or very flamboyant, very exuberant style that Prince Nassim has as some sort of indication of high level striking, right? If you can move, great, great. But if you can move and then place those punches at the right time while you move, then yes, you are an elite striker. But other than that, you're just a guy that is, sort of all over the place, right? And here's the thing, right? When I first started striking, like, I mean, really striking, like, I'm not talking about like Taekwondo competitions, which I was used to as a kid. I'm talking about like striking competition, like getting into Muay Thai, right? Getting into Muay Thai, I thought, okay, you know what? Because I have elusive movement, because I have a good bounce to my step, this Taekwondo bounce that I do, that I'm going to outmaneuver everybody, right? Well, that's not the case because there's more components to striking than just having an elusive movement that allows you to express your athletic prowess, right? It has to be, can you place the punches at the right time, at the right place? Can you get can you get the targets in time? Can you keep a certain amount of defense or maintain a certain amount of defense that doesn't allow you to get hit? J5, shout outs to you. Thank you for that. J5 Harsh says, bro, are you going to watch the Road to the UFC event tomorrow? We have the Indian Kurjan Karen fighter and Nepali fighter named Rabindara Dant. Bro, believe me, these two are going to change MMA. Harsh, are you from India? Are you Indian or are you of like a Desi background or anything like that? Let me know. Scandabigo says, I have zero respect for Zuck's friend, Marab. There's another thing, too, right? I mean, why does it surprise people that Marab hangs out with Mark Zuckerberg? It seems in character that that's what he would do. Think about it. Marab is a type of guy that wants to be a people pleaser, he wants to be the everybody guy. Okay, if you notice, the Georgians and the Dagestanis have very similar cultures, right? They have very similar cultures, but obviously, being that the Georgians lean towards the Christian side of things, they have a little bit more relation towards, let's say, Western values. Like, for example, Ilya Tapora goes out and drinks wine before a fight or something like that, right? This is not something Muslim fighters will engage in, even though, once again, as I mentioned, they are literally the same culture. Harsh says, yes, bro, I am Southeast Asian living in the UAE. Man, Southeast Asian living in the UAE. Um, if that isn't asking for racism to come your way. And you know what I mean. Because, as an Arab man myself, I can attest and be very honest about this, that some Arabs can get really racist. Okay. Like some Arabs out there are some of the most racist people that you will ever come across. But I'm sure you know that living in the UAE, you know. But at the same time, Arabs are also some of the most fun people to be around, most caring people to be around. So, there's always a good and bad in everybody. All right, back to Chael Sonnen and what he talks about with Josh Hawken and what he knows about the heavyweight division.
Is aligning himself with surreal. If we are at that point, if there is not a story behind the scenes that we just haven't been revealed, MSG, great example. It could be a number of other things. If those two, if Surreal and Tom, and they've been informed and told to keep their mouth shut, it's a very, very normal way to do things, and they want to know anybody an answer, and we can roll that out as we will. But in the absence of that, if that isn't what's going on, why aren't we hearing? Heavyweight class is the perennial class. It always has been. Seemingly huge feud between Tom and Surreal. I mean, that's a seemingly huge feud. The guy was injured by a bait.
Harsh says, yes, bro. I understand that, and the past and the thing I respect Arabs and lived in the past and how they changed their future. Okay. Yes. Yes. Shout outs to that comment.
And tactic. That seems like a very sellable issue, but it's not being discussed. In fact, what's being discussed is created by Hokit, which is him versus Surreal. I just wonder why. Why you guys aren't talking about it. I wonder why there's not something out there. And I wonder if that isn't on the books, if there isn't a plan that just hasn't been, for PR reasons, announced.
Yes, he said it best right there. The PR reasons. Kyrie is a liar. There's no racism in Islam. No, there isn't. Not in the doctrine, but if you're talking about people and you're talking about people who are imperfect, people who are susceptible to crimes, people who are susceptible to sin, which is all of us in a nutshell. Yeah, Arabs are pretty racist in that regard. I tell you what, though, this is what's great about having homies of different races, right? If the Arabs in my community ever act up, I could bring other racial elements to set them straight, if you know what I mean.
So is yet. Then are we stripped home? Is Surreal Gone about to be the undisputed champion of the UFC? I don't know, but I do.
And if that's the case, they should have done that already, right? Now, how great would it have been? You are now the undisputed champion in the White House, okay? But they missed out on that opportunity. They walked back on that opportunity, and that was that.
Feel something is going on there. And nobody studies that division closer than Hogan. Nobody gets more involved. Nobody puts a plan together in that division better than Hogan. And he is making moves that lead me to believe that he has information that he believes to be true. And it was seen that that information is that Tom's not coming back, at least not back in time to hold up the division and hold out the real.
All right, so there's that. What about the title contender series? Right, Bellamere loses against this woman who I believe was a lifelong gymnast, and then she came into MMA. I mean, that if that doesn't tell you how much of a fraud MMA is, right? Here's Bellamere, second generation fighter, right? Decorated wrestler, decorated jiu-jitsu player. Very young MMA experience, right? Meaning that she started MMA very young. Um, and then here we are, right? Loses to somebody that was a lifelong. Again, like I told you, this is just an example of how much of a fraud MMA is, right? Lifelong martial artist loses to a gymnast. I mean, obviously, she's not just a gymnast, but that background helped her cultivate her MMA skills. Scandabigo says, breaking news from the White House effective immediately. Lake Ontario will be renamed Lake America. I mean, just the pettiness of Trump, right? Floyd says, isn't Hockett the most entertaining fighter in the heavyweight division right now? By far. Right now, being that Connor is out of the picture, I would say he's probably the most entertaining fighter. I think it's safe to say he's probably the most entertaining fighter in the whole UFC's roster right now. Can I get an amen to that? Right? There's nobody else that's as entertaining as this guy. Um, but yeah, that Bellamere fight, I got to see that. I got to see some of the Dana White's Contender Series, and
1 million views, or you didn't pay anything.
let's see here.
That's literally our offer. Here's how we can make it work. Our average client gets 15.5 million.
All right, here we go.
Bellamere Alex Obadakwa, am I saying that right? I'm proud of Bellamere. I'm proud of her. And you want to know what I'm proud of? I'm proud of our sport. I'm proud of the sport of MMA. Now, hear me out on this. I go back with Bella a meaningful amount of time. I have been her announcer. I have been her fan. I'm a friend of the family. I tried to be her promoter specifically for grappling. Wanted to manage her grappling career. This is not the first time I've seen Bella get whipped. That's the difference with everybody else that saw this, and maybe from my perspective.
So that's a very good point, right? The same thing that happened with Bo Nickel. When he got beat up by homeboy Rainier de Ritter, right? People were shocked, right? But if you've been around the wrestling community for a long time, you would know that this is not the first time we've seen Bo Nickel get his ass handed to him, right? And this goes for a lot of combat athletes, specifically MMA fighters who have competed in multiple disciplines, right? Even George St. Pierre, as a world champion, I've seen him get submitted in Abu Dhabi grappling tournaments while he was a world champion. So Ben Henderson, the same thing. I remember he won a world title. I believe. Who did he beat for the world title? Was it Frankie Edgar that he beat for the title? And then weeks later, or a week later, he was entering a jiu-jitsu tournament.
In fact, I got a girl that I trained, Destiny Rodriguez. We ran into Bella two different times in competition. Destiny beat her. So this isn't this stunning thing for me. But I must tell you, no matter how many times I see this, I still have not fully accepted any.
Scanabigo says Canada have moved their business to Europe and China. Trump is destroying America with his low life, empty threats and bluffs. You know what? Listen, they're gonna pay dearly in the midterm elections. Okay, they're gonna have a rude awakening. The MAGA movement is gonna have a rude awakening, and you know what? I think it is going to ultimately change the face of the Republican Party in America. That's what I think is going to happen ultimately.
I need to and I want to. That MMA is a sport. I just came up at a different time. I came up as a wrestler, jumped over to MMA. But the guy I was taking on was the same thing. We didn't even call it MMA back then. By the way, I mean MMA, mixed martial arts, that you call our sport.
Um, More news. President Trump came out today in support of federally banning Sharia law in every state. I know that's cap, right? Because when you're talking about Sharia law, what exactly does that mean? Like, you mean that some states impose death penalties and some don't? For example, in the Mormon state of Utah, you're allowed to have polygamy, which is part of Sharia law, but are they going to ban that too? Like, that's how I know that that part is a lie, right? And I don't even need to look up that. But the Canada part, right? Calling it Lake of America, I buy that. Okay, that is something that Trump would do, and that is something that is in the realms of realism and realistic outcomes, rather than actually coming up with a law banning Sharia law. Like, how do you even do that? Slode says, what happened to the mad woman that strangled her three children? I don't know. I think they have final statements going on today, right? I think that's what's going on right now. Let me see if there's any specific updates on that. Um, Let me see here. Uh, Lindsay Clancy trial. Okay, let's see what's going on with that one. Um, Okay, jury begins deliberating. So what exactly does that mean? Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, because we're gonna find out what's going on with her. Associated Press. Yeah, Associated Press is also hosting the Keefe D trial as well. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? It was very hard for me to watch this trial only because of like the the details that come with it. I mean, it is just it's a lot harder to watch this case as opposed to Tupac, who was unalive 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So yeah, and then the people in the chat right now is just go. So it's just basically showing, the Massachusetts state symbol, right? This is all that you see. He says salt, beans, salt, and water is all you need to survive. Okay, that's very interesting. Scanabigo says it's Trump's words, man. He's anti-Sharia. Yeah, I suppose, man. I suppose, but you can't actually physically ban Sharia like that. I don't know, man. Like, how would you even draft a law like that? Like, explain to me, right? See, this is the thing about Trump, right? Like he says a lot of things that doesn't make any sense, and then you have to try and make sense of it because you want to justify what he's saying has some sort of like wholesome truth to it or some sort of plausible reality or even just even a legitimate argument of some sort. And that's not how it goes. That's not how it goes at all, man. All right, let's continue on with this with Bellamere, and then I'm gonna head out soon, or maybe do a little bit of a bonus on the way out.
That's a term that was created
You're right back.
to pass a law through the Nevada state legislature in 2001. Just for example, I mean, when I tell you we didn't do MMA or we didn't have MMA gyms or we didn't have MMA coaches, we didn't have the term called no holds barred. It was called cage fighting, and then you get the real smart marks that would call it pancreas and know the history of pancreation. And at any rate, they're doing the same diet, same exercise program. You've even got the same discipline, but suddenly everything you do feels twice as hard. Most men start losing testosterone around the age of 30. Another 1% is going to be lost every year after. And so much of the testosterone that your body does make gets locked up by a protein called SHBG. That's why I want you to pay attention to Mars Men. Mars Men is designed to help free up blocked testosterone. It's got 8 natural, clinically dosed ingredients like Tomcat Ali, Sterogen, vitamin D, zinc, even boron. With Mars Men, better recovery. Mars Men is made in the USA. It has been third-party tested, and it's now at GNC nationwide. You're going to get a 90-day money-back guarantee. And for a limited time, my listeners can get 50% off for life, plus free shipping, and you're even going to get 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. Tell them my show sent you. But it's a sport, and it is not a sport that you can play with. It's not a sport that you can be in part-time. And that's what Alex showed us. That's what she showed us. Like, Bella has done nothing wrong. Bella set really big goals from the time she was little. By the way, this whole Bella is going to be a freestyle wrestler, and she's going to be jiu-jitsu, and she's going to be MMA. Guys, that's not new. She's been doing all of those things. Plus, she was a football player before she got a full ride scholarship to go off to college. I'm just clear with you, like, this isn't new and neither is defeat, but in many ways, Bella's loss was a win for mixed martial arts. In many ways, it was. It really shows us that this is now a sport. And I have these wrestlers, these guys, I'm like everybody else. I tie myself back to Dan Severn. When Dan Severn goes into the octagon and the VHS gets put out 2 months later and the world finds this out, and he went 30 minutes with Hoist Gracie, that's when we found out that wrestling was a fighting style and arts, something that would work in a combat situation. We didn't know. I don't walk around town like I had a skill set. My classmates didn't treat me like I was the dangerous dude in the room. We didn't know. We all learned what Dan Severn did it. But then there was a time. There was a young man I followed his career named Townsend Saunders. And he fought a young man named Mikey Burnett. And that was kind of the first time.
All right, if you want to see the rest of that, check out Chael's Bellamere's loss is a win for MMA. Very good and interesting title. Go check that out because Chael Sonnen always drops some gems. I'm going to talk more about what he talked about here, right? And then you could go watch the video yourself. We're going to get into the bonus round of this live stream. I'm actually going to head out on the road. So I will be talking to you guys on the road right now. So yeah, if you bear with me for just a second. Yeah, we're going to get to the road. Let me read some of the comments here. He says, it's Trump's words, man. He's anti-Sharia. Yeah, be serious, brother says, my brother had 9 years without seeing daylight, but all he had was beans and salt and water. That's how he survived. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, that is an interesting fact to know, man. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. I did not know that. I did not know that. Wow. Okay. It really tells you, just how much you can really survive with just, the very bare minimum, right? There's a lot that you can survive with by just the bare minimum. And it's, yeah, that's quite interesting that that's the case. So, okay, good to know. All right. On was talking about earlier, right? MMA, and for whatever reason, it seems like things got harder, right? When they transitioned from wrestling to MMA, from pancration to MMA. I see what he means, right? I think there is a mental barrier there, that I think we put in place amongst ourselves, right? Like, oh, since we are now doing this competition or we're in a different sport, in reality, the way that Chael is trying to convey it, he's trying to convey the message as, you know what, we are all competing in the same things anyway. We do the same type of exercises, and he's right about that, right? We do the same type of conditionings. He's right about that. Everyone goes for a run. He's absolutely right about that. All of these things are true, right? He's not lying about any of this. But for whatever reason, yes, he's right. There is that certain mental blockage that we place amongst ourselves. So yeah, I understand what by that. It kind of gets harder in our minds, right? It gets way harder than what it really isn't. There's just a lot of that going on. So, um, yeah, man. So a little bit of a recap of what we had going on today, right? A little bit of a recap for our live stream. Um, okay, so we talked about Justin Gaethje, right? Is there a potential for Justin Gaethje to retire and go out on top? I say that he should. I think that he should. And the reason why I think that he should is because there is no other there is no other option after this. There isn't. There's no other option. You're not going to get any better in terms of the outcomes that you get, whether you win or lose in your next fight. And it doesn't get any bigger than the White House. Okay, going out on top, that's the way that it should be. Just like you being Khabib's last fight. Khabib went out on top with you as his last fight. That's how you got to go out. Because if you're not going out like that, you're going to go out like everybody else. You're going to go out like Edson Barbosa, the way that he ended his career. You're going to go out like BJ Penn, the way he ended his career. You're going to go out like who else had a very bad ending to their career? Obviously, Mark Kerr. He had a very bad ending to his career. All these guys, everybody had a bad ending to their career. Victory says the Max rematch would be good for Gaethje. Big payday, and he can try to redeem himself. And then only for Max to knock him out again. And then after Max knocks him out, then Conor McGregor's not going to want that smoke again, because now he realized that he slept uh, the version of Justin Gaethje that is the best version of Justin Gaethje right now, and that is the undisputed 155 champion version of Justin Gaethje. That's going to scare Conor away. So that's going to prevent Max from more of a payday on top of that. Okay. And then it's going to ruin Justin Gaethje. And the only person that really wins there is not even Max. Think about that, right? Max, he says, Tony Ferguson. What about Tony Ferguson? Um, are you saying that he could go out like Tony Ferguson too? How ironic, right? Imagine how ironic that is. He goes out like Tony Ferguson because he decided he wanted to do one more. And Tony Ferguson was the guy whom had a winning streak going on, of which he snapped. He snapped that winning streak, and Tony Ferguson was never the same again. You know, Justin Gaethje has been slept so many times, and yet somehow he comes back even better sometimes, right? Unlike Tony Ferguson, he got rocked, slept that one time against Justin, and then it was just a losing streak on from there. But that's the UFC for you. Scandinavigo says Justin is healthy. His next fight is money. Justin not receive free money from Russia and Arab. Justin should just fight out his contract. Just fight out his contract. How many fights does he have in his contract right now? Do you know? Or does anyone really know publicly how many fights he has left? If he has one fight left, yeah, I suppose that is that one thing. He says, yeah, your short-term memory needs to be studied. You asked for names of other guys that had a bad ending to. Yeah, bro, it's not about the short term, my man. It's just that when you are speaking on a chat, you're talking about multiple things at once. And while you're talking about multiple things at once, a conversation that you had a couple of minutes ago, you can't just say one word answer is what I'm saying. That's the thing about um that's the thing about like the English language, right? Like you have to kind of express what you mean. When you say Tony Ferguson, what do you mean? Just say right on the comment section below, hey, Tony Ferguson also had a bad ending to his career. Because if you just say Tony Ferguson, sometimes we can lose context. um Um, the the Austrian painter says I can easily beat Tony Ferguson. Harsh says, bro, what car do you drive? I'm not going to say what car I drive only because I don't want to be spotted. Um, I don't want to be spotted out in public like that, like having a marked car, like oh, that's his car right there. Let's go get him. No, let's just put it like this: it's a nice car. It's got a sunroof and leather seats, and that's all you need to know. Victory says right scanned. What does that mean? Okay, Justin is healthy. Oh, okay. That's in reference to Justin Gaethje. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, man. Yeah, one word answer sometimes loses context to things, and so sorry about that. But yeah, Tony Ferguson, yes, absolutely had a bad ending to his career as well, to which Justin Gaethje can suffer the same fate if he doesn't get out right now. And also, it's not like he's getting any better. Remember, guys, this is a sport of depletion. Okay? This sport is meant to deplete you and nothing more, nothing less. That's what it is here to do. It is here to, yeah, it's here to do that. It is here to deplete you. You're not going to get any better at this sport. You do get better, when you're younger and then you reach like the peak of your age and you're 25, 35 or something like that. But then after that, it is just a downhill from there. All right. So, guys, listen, with that in mind, uh, that is all that I have for this one right now. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Actually, you know what? Maybe we could Nah, now we'll just leave it right there. We don't need to, force the show any more than what we need. I think that's good right there. So will Justin Gaethje retire? That is a debate that we had. Obviously, a little bit of a clickbaity situation, right? I kind of did that on purpose to create conversation, but also to create traction. Because by the end of the day, remember, this is a game of attention, and that's what that's what we're here to do, is to garner attention on YouTube, but also to give the best information while also dropping the best content. And I hope that I have done that. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one, inshallah.